Good evening, rockers. Vegas Rock Goddess here on the Rocks. Total entertainment coming to you live from somewhere off the Las Vegas Strip. Today, I am interviewing an amazing band, Steve Creep and the Wild Cards. This is a great band, a TikTok find. So let's talk to Steve and let's get the lowdown on this amazing band. Uh, let's let Steve in. Hey, Steve,
I
how are you?
I put it sideways today. I think I had it the other way last time. I wasn't really sure. Sorry about
Hey,
that.
we can get
There
the
we go.
full
That
picture.
good? You there?
Awesome. Very good. Hey, welcome back. Sorry about the last interview. Steve and I tried to talk, and of course, Zoom had other plans for me for that day. So anyway, we're back. Steve, you have been so busy.
Mm.
Unbelievable. So why don't you bring the viewers up to speed? Um, tell the viewers a little bit about your band and how long you've been doing this.
Um, I guess, well, the thing was recorded during the lockdown, but we didn't put the band together until 2023. Once everything was all kind of moving along, we played our first show 2 years ago, almost to this day, 24th of March, 2023. So I recorded all the instruments on the recording, and I said I want to do a band. It's my friend Tom from The Damn Truth is the guy who recorded me, and he's like, "Oh, you should put a solo thing." I'm like, "Yeah, but I still need a band to play live, and if I'm going to do that, I just want to be in a band. I've always been in bands, right?" So I put together this band. We call it the Wild Cards because at the time I wasn't really sure who's going to be able to play consistently. So like it's a wild card is anybody who's able to kind of get in, right? So that was the idea. But the thing is, we all love doing it so much as a band that it's been the same four guys since we started. So yeah, it's moving along. We're working really hard every day of the week.
Yeah, and your TikToks are blowing up.
Yeah.
I just enjoy watching your live performances.
Not as much as I enjoy doing them. I
But I
hate
do,
editing them.
yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, you guys are really killing it out there. I know you've got a huge show coming up I want to talk about on April 19th, which is going to be at the Windsor Tavern.
Oh no, that was last year.
Last year,
Yeah, did you see that on TikTok?
yeah, oh, I might have, oh, yeah,
You
see,
maybe saw like an anniversary.
yeah, I think that
Uh,
was probably what it was. There was an anniversary, but
yeah.
tell us a little bit about your area and like what are you doing for shows right now? We're right in the heart of the spring.
Well, we just completed two shows. Like what you're talking about is we did a little mini tour of Ontario last year where we did the Windsor and it was called Van Cleef Hill, and
Okay.
we did Kingston, Toronto, and Oshawa, and we did Ottawa around that same time too. But yeah, right now we just did two shows in Montreal so far. Like I went through a little series. Unfortunate circumstances. In January, my cat died like on the day that I'd released the song,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and it's like I found out she had cancer like leading up to it. But you know how it is on Spotify. You need like a month to really enter your date in, and it's like by the time she was diagnosed, it was already set in motion. I couldn't just cancel it. So yeah, I was coping with that. It was kind of rough, but I still got her. I got her baby. She's roaming around here right now. And then and then I got like some other family issues that we're working through. But all through that, the show must go on while it's happening, right?
Yep,
When,
absolutely, absolutely. Um,
once you release a song, the campaign's on. Like you
yeah,
just can't slam
yeah,
on the brakes. So
you can't put a stop on it. I mean, it
mm,
has to move forward,
yeah,
regardless of what's going on, unfortunately. But yeah, you're amazing. Like, do you do a lot of your own writing?
yeah. Everything that you hear on Spotify or whatever, that was all songs that I'd written so long ago. Because like I was playing, I played in original bands for many years, like going back through the decades, and then I guess around 2007, I was like, I kind of got tired. Sometimes you get this close and certain guys just don't want to go that same direction anymore. So you're trying to rebuild, and it's like always rebuilding. And I just got frustrated. So I kind of put it down for a while. I said maybe I was going to be a tattoo artist or something. And then that just spiraled into me playing in pubs for some reason. I said, well, I'm going to need some equipment, so I'll play some pub gigs and I'll buy the tattoo gear. And then the pub gigs just blew up so fast, and not in terms of success, but how many I got, you know?
Right.
So it's just a day job for me, and I enjoy it, obviously, as much as anything else, but it doesn't give me the same gratification as playing original music. So
Well,
I
yeah.
just ended up in that vein, and I would get hired on tours with other bands. I'd be a guitar tech for other bands, and I would always kind of like be here and there, but it was pretty much that's how I spent my days, doing like 300 shows a year in the pubs, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, how is the music scene there? Like, what's happening?
Ugh, it's weird here, like in Montreal anyway. I can't speak for the rest of Canada, but actually maybe I can, because I've toured the country several times in recent years, and it's harder now. I find post pandemic, everybody during the pandemic was starved for music, and they were all going online and trying to find musicians to watch. People were doing those little live, and they were all excited. And when the bars open again, everyone was excited for about 6 months, and then the bars just went. And, people, I think they are desensitized and they take things for granted. So keeping their attention has become a lot more difficult than it used to be with cell
Yeah.
phones that we have, right?
Yeah. I
So
totally agree.
I find getting people to your shows for a lot of the bands that I see around, it's a bit more of a challenge. Getting on the FM radio stations here. I don't know what it's like in the States right now, but here
Terrible.
there's like a lot of gatekeeping. You need to spend money on a promo guy for. We have Bell Media here that owns they own some of the radio stations, and they don't just let independent bands walk on in. Like, so it's almost a pay to play sort of deal, even in the original scene. It's kind of difficult. But I noticed that even like in the whiskey in LA, like they're starting to take almost any band in there right now. Like it used to be one of the hardest places to get in. Now I just saw a post the other day where they're looking for bands. I was like, what the hell is going on in LA?
Yeah. I think the narrative is kind of changing. In some aspects, I could do a whole show on this pay to play crap. Um,
Right.
but anyway, I mean, I think,
Well, rent the room. I mean,
yeah,
you could call it a multitude of things, but it comes down to, they're covering their end. So you act as a promoter and a musician, much the way you do when you release your own stuff, your own label and your own PR guy now too, right?
right.
So yeah,
Yeah. In the States, it's rough because there's a lot of bands that I interview that are never going to get a chance to leave their hometown.
right.
And
It's too
that's
expensive to
unfortunate.
tour now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless they hop on a major like tour with other bands,
yeah.
it's super
And there's even a
difficult.
certain amount of gatekeeping to get to that level. There's a lot of politics in music. There always has been. I mean, it's nothing really new. It's frustrating, but in this day and age, man, you can't just have one of the elements. You need all of the elements. You need to have your act down. You need to have your promo packages ready, and you need to know how to communicate and really network like crazy, because it's all you now. We used to have
Yeah.
managers, and you have managers, but like, there's no point getting a manager or a label until you've gotten yourself to a certain plateau, which is exhausting work for a lot of bands.
Yeah. And you can thank pandemic for this because it put everybody in a frenzy. And now social media, if you don't have your followers and if your band isn't communicating and engaging with your fans, you're dead. You might as well
Yeah,
just not even play.
like you remember the days of like when those '80s bands like Guns N' Roses, and even into the '90s when the grunge scene came around. There was a mystique about the rock star. We didn't really know much about David Lee Roth and these guys. We heard the stories, and it turns into the Purple Monkey dishwasher. He said, she said, rumors. It gets so ridiculous. But nowadays, it's the complete opposite. They don't want you to be this mystical being. They want to connect with you as though they're getting to know every fiber of who you are as a person, and it matters to them if they're going to follow you along, and right down to your beliefs and your general day-to-day actions is crazy. It's almost like you're being judged in order to be a fan at this point. I need to know that we have the same political beliefs and all that stuff. It's like it's almost ridiculous how intimate it's become.
Yeah. And, a lot of these bands that I interviewed don't still do not to this day, do not understand social media and
Right.
what an impact TikTok is making right now in the music industry.
And there was a little scare there a while back, right? Right
Yeah.
before the election, they were like they were gonna ban it in the states. So that obviously that got moved aside, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a date coming up here in a couple weeks, but I just heard our president say that he's going to extend it because he doesn't want
Yeah.
anything to happen to this platform.
No, it's such a multifaceted discussion because there is talk about, well, China owns it, and you don't know if they could trust the data and all that. But on Trump's side of things, I agree in the sense that it's a strong communicating factor for Americans, like of all kinds, like from social media influencers to musicians, comedians. I mean, cooks, you name it. The
Entrepreneurs
category,
trying to
we
sell
use
things
that
and all that.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what China really gives a damn about me. I'm just some guy playing guitar. So I'm not really paranoid. Maybe some people are, but I don't know. My dad is already all over the place. I get spammed with nonsensical emails all day long,
Right,
from every
right.
platform. So,
But let's put it out there though. TikTok is making strides. I
yeah.
mean, Instagram is kind of coming back a little bit.
Yeah, I find
No,
Facebook has taken quite a dip for certain age groups. Like the younger age groups don't seem to really look at Facebook so much. Like the older people
right.
that started with from MySpace to Facebook, they're still connecting there. So if you know your demographic, you know where to get them. But yeah, it took me a while to get into Instagram, and through that, I was like, oh god, I didn't want to have to do the TikTok thing because all you saw was those stupid dances, and you're like, oh god, I can't resort
Right?
to this. But you don't have to. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line. Everybody thinks you have to do those hokey dances, but it's not really the truth.
No, no. There's a lot of great information on TikTok
Yeah.
from a lot of great individuals that are making strides with motivational, medical. I just think that it's really a great platform for it's like watching the news now. You
Yeah.
know, you can learn a lot within 60 seconds
Oh
of
yeah.
doing this.
From tutorials to just
Right.
insightfulness too. Sometimes it's good. There's the two-sided coin once again. Like the commercial. The CNN and the Fox. You're going to get their political agenda and their view, which might not want you to know certain sides of things. And then you're going to get the false information from social media too. So I think I just take a little of everything and I try and make my own sense of it if I can. But
Yeah.
you got to take everything with a grain of salt these
Right.
days.
And being, a rock journalist for like the past 5, 6 years here, yeah, you have to learn to weed out
Yeah.
crap.
Right. Like read both sides of the news and then go on social media and try and figure out because everybody's an expert on social media, right?
Oh yeah.
It's almost comical.
Yes. But getting back to the band thing, yeah, I mean bands I think are really starting to embrace TikTok because
Mm,
I'm seeing a lot more uh bands out there throwing their name in the ring, which is great, you
right.
know, because it's all about getting your name out there. And
Right. Right.
I mean, that's how I kind of came across you was on TikTok. I mean, it just blew me away your live performances.
Well, thank you. With
But
TikTok, I could be spending more time posting on there, but the thing about TikTok, due to the fact that it's predominantly videos, you got to spend the extra time to cut the snippets that you want to post them. So, I'm on every social media there is. Like, I'm even on Blue Sky. I'm on a Lemonade now there because now that TikTok Notes is going out, I got a notification saying they're going to switch you over to Lemonade. So you got to open up that app and get on there. So, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Threads. You name it. So, uh, I spend a lot of my time. It's a lot easier for me to post like just a picture. Like lately, due to my, I've been overwhelmed with a lot of things. I had 30 gigs in March alone. So the St. Patrick's was in the middle of all that. So I got to learn all these Irish songs one more time for one weekend of the month.
Right, right.
So I get a little overwhelmed. So it's a good habit as a musician if you're a self promoter and you really want to make an impact, which you seem to notice, is you got to go on there every day. And like, it doesn't take, you don't have to put on full on effort. Just like throw a photo up there. And if you can make a caption, if you really want to get into the hashtags, go for it. But
Yeah.
I find you don't really need to go for the hashtags so much.
No, I mean, whatever works for your band or for you personally,
Right.
there's a lot of artists posting, their graffiti art and, things like that. And I think it's great because they're being exposed to people that maybe have never seen that before.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's one great thing about social media is you now have the open window to show people that would never get to see your stuff. I mean, I connect with people in Russia. I mean, the people in Russia are hearing
Right.
my music. When in the 90s would you have been able to do that?
I know I've got some great followers in Australia,
Yeah.
in England.
Yeah.
And it's wide open, your connections.
Yeah, it's how you use it. I had this discussion just earlier today with my guitar player. I said, he goes, man, it's all at your fingertips. I'm like, yeah, but it's incredible. Like in Montreal, the bands that I've noticed, there's just not a lot of them are really going hard with the social media. But I get calls periodically from other bands. They're like, how are you getting all this stuff? I'm like, it's in your hand. Like whatever you're talking to me on right now, it's in there.
Right. I mean, I just had an interview last week with Peter Cat, the whole band Playhouse, and I'm a good friend with them. And they said the same thing. It's like if they don't get on the socials, nobody's going to know about their new record.
No.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but
well, that's I mean, like once again, it's a pain, but it's also a blessing because you used to have to pay for that kind of exposure,
right?
Like quite a bit. I mean, you still could. Like I run meta ads, which is probably why you even saw my TikToks, is because I run meta ads. It helps not just grow your followers, but it helps grow awareness and it helps expose your music to people that wouldn't normally hear it. So are they all deep fans? No. A lot of them are probably rubbish, and that's all fine too. But at least they're curious enough to click follow. And who knows? Maybe a song or two from now, if they're still on my friends list, they'll like that, and it'll start peaking. Your repetition and consistency really is what it's all about. So you just look at that in a sense of hopefulness, but at least brand awareness is there, and that's why I'm on every social media all day long. I don't have to believe in it. That's not to me. I'm just trying to use that as a way to get my name out there. So
right, just like I do, with my show as well. I mean, you have to be out there continuously.
Yeah,
it's not going to come to you. You have to go to it.
Well, there's some people that are more on one social media than they're on another. Like I know a lot of people right now, they're not really happy with the American politics, and they're taking a stance against Twitter. They're like, I don't want to be part of a Republican agenda, so I'm not going to go on there. It's like, look, I played gigs in bars where I despised the owner of the bar, but I'm not there for the owner of the bar.
No.
I'm there for myself to make money and entertain the patrons of that bar.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of why Facebook is where they're at right now is because there's too many people getting their politics involved with what that platform is all about. It's not about politics, people.
Right. But they make it about
connecting.
That.
It's about
didn't Facebook kind of take away the ability to share news because they were it was getting too much, so they kind of pulled back with that. People said, "Oh, it's against freedom of speech," and that's a whole other argument altogether. No.
Yeah, that is a whole other argument, and that's a whole other platform. Bye.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the same thing with Twitter.
Right.
Twitter turned into this ugly animal.
Yeah.
And
like although I'm on Twitter, I don't really, maybe because of who I'm following, I don't really see that side of it. I'm just surrounded by music and musicians and stuff like that, so I don't really see that all that often.
Yeah.
I don't spend tons of time on there, mind you, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, rock stars out there that are very politically motivated,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is great for them, but, don't bring us down with you.
Right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Look, if you're U2, I guess that's your whole platform is to be. They came out as kind of that sort of thing, so I guess
Right.
that sticks to the very part of their brand. But yeah, for guys like me, I'm not. I don't really. I'm a centrist at the end of the day. I'll listen to both sides, and I'll always make my own assessment, and
Right.
I'll agree with certain things that I'll probably get in shit for because it goes against the other side. And if that's the way you feel, then then you're a hard left or hard right. Then that's your
Right.
business.
But,
When
if
I play
not,
in bands here, I play with a hardcore right and a hardcore left on two separate bands. They won't play together, but if we're doing pubs, we'll sit there and I'll shoot the shit with them. I don't really care. Just don't get too cuckoo on me.
exactly. I mean, we're here for the rock and roll, you know.
I'm
Uh,
there to make you escape that, if anything.
I
Um,
know, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
That's my idea. Yeah. Like Van Halen,
exactly.
you're just there to get away from all that stuff.
Exactly. And it's funny. Let's talk about Van Halen for a minute. You're a huge Van Halen fan. Of course, I
Okay,
am
that way.
too.
Yeah.
I've seen every tour. The only tour
Oh,
I did not see was Diver Down.
wow.
That was the only tour I did not see. So I
You,
have
you
the
don't strike me as
rock
somebody even
side.
nearly that old.
I won't tell you. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen the David Lee Roth side, and I've seen the Gary Cerrone side, and
right,
I've seen the Sammy Hagar side. So
right,
there's not too many of us out there that have seen all three sides of this band.
right.
Which
Like,
is
yeah, some people are so young they just heard the Ross stories. Like they don't know much about it at all. Like,
right, exactly. I mean,
everybody's gonna have their take on. Once again, I have these discussions with my friend. Like, we're big Van Halen fans, and he said he went to a friend's house and they had some drinks and they got into a heated debate between Sammy and Dave. And
oh geez,
because he's more of like he likes Journey and bands like that, so he sided more with the Hagar thing. He likes Roth, but he says he just, in his opinion, they stepped up musically with Sammy, and in some ways they did because they became more musically diverse and more mature. They lost some of the pizzazz that Roth brought, but I mean, who's going to be able to bring that anyway?
I
It's
mean,
Roth's the
it
only
to
guy.
me, yeah, to me, both sides of that are rock and roll and Vegas.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what comes to my, you know what I mean?
yeah,
If I had to describe both of them,
right,
that's how I would describe it. Because, Dave is like all show,
right.
and, Sammy is all rock and roll. I mean, I saw Sammy, I'm a huge Sammy Hagar fan. I mean, I saw his solo tour back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was for, I can't remember if it was for Three Lock Box, I think. I
Okay.
did see that tour, and he drives that Trans Am right on the stage, and it's
Right.
it's like a huge production number. But you know what? That guy knows how to rock, and he's
I,
taking a step back now. He's gonna do Vegas,
Yeah.
his
Well, look, he's
residency.
getting on in his age. I mean, it's not easy to sing like. It wasn't easy for a 25-year-old to sing like that.
Right. And I don't even think it's so much that. I think it's the traveling. I think it's the
Yeah,
traveling that he's done. He's probably been around the world probably 100 times plus.
probably. And when you
And
see those clips of him side stage and he's ice packing his knees and stuff, it's like my dad's not far from the same age and he can hardly make it to the convenience store. So like, kudos to Sammy.
yeah. So, a
Great.
lot of these bands are starting to do residencies here
Yeah.
because it's cheaper and
It's
the
easier.
the fans come to them.
Right. And it's easier on their bodies. I mean, I went on a month-long
Yeah.
tour with I was on the Tesla opening up for a Def Leppard tour in Canada in 2019. And man, you're in a bus every day. Like I was just a roadie. Like, imagine having to sing after sleeping in a bus. It's not always the most comfortable sleep. He's taking turns. You wake up in the middle of the night. You're in a bunk that's like this wide. So
Right?
yeah, for an older guy, especially, like some of those bunks, I would assume he's on one of the lower bunks too, because those bunks. I was on a triple layered bed. I was guys sleeping in the top,
Oh
and you're trying to
man.
get up there quietly and gracefully while somebody's sleeping on the bed below you. It's not
Dang.
not the most convenient way to go, but
Oh yeah, I slept on the top bunk for when I went on a cruise with a bunch of
Right. So
people.
you know.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing that every day in a van that's traveling like 10 hours, sometimes way more.
And your knees are about to give out. You got to make that climb up that ladder.
Right. And you get up in the middle of the night and you're not allowed to go to the bathroom really in the bus. You can only go for a number one. That's the rule.
Yeah,
And then if you sit up, you'll bang your head because it's so low in those bunks, right?
right,
So
right.
there's
Those
only
tour
so much.
buses are crazy. I've been in a few, but yeah, that
So imagine
not
months and
fun.
months. Sometimes these bands like Motley Crue did 2.5 years, I think, for Dr. Feelgood, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's got to wear you down for sure.
yeah. They're doing a residency here, starting I think in July. It was rescheduled.
Right. Yeah.
Vince Neil hurt himself
Yeah, I
again.
saw his foot again. Is it
Yeah,
his
something
foot?
like
Yeah. I saw him
yeah.
with Kiss in 2012, and he hurt his foot then too.
Yeah, he's got to have surgery I think on it this time.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, not surprised.
Yeah.
Uh, but
No.
anyway, so hey, what's going on with you? Give us some dates of what you're playing out.
We got the only thing we have booked currently at the moment because what we're doing right now is we're running a radio campaign across Canada, and we're doing one in the UK, and we're trying to see what has more of an impact, and we're going to decide where we're going to focus our next tour on. Right
Okay,
now, what I booked is in June. We're going out. Do you know who Alex Kane is from Life, Sex, and Death?
I think so.
They were banned in 1992. They were on Warner Brothers. There was all this hype behind them, but they were pretty hard to digest for the mainstream, so they didn't quite get where they should have, in my opinion. Anyway, he plays in a band from LA called Pump Five now, and they're coming to Canada for 3 shows. We're doing. I'm going to be opening up for them, and it's in Toronto, London, and Hamilton. So it's all middle Canada.
Yeah,
But
nice.
I might plan some shows before I do a full scale tour. But the idea is to book like a Canadian tour where we're going to fly out west, rent everything, and drive back east. Because my bass player Scott, he's done enough of those tours where he's one of the main drivers. I'm not really the driver, so I don't really care. But he doesn't want to drive back and forth because Canada is quite a large piece of land, and there's a
Right.
sparse space between each major city here. So
Well,
yeah.
that sounds exciting though.
It's an adventure, but if you've done it a bunch of times, you realize it's not as glamorous as you think too. It's also
Right?
costly. Gas
Yeah.
prices are up. Canada is not doing great financially right now, so it's
Yeah.
not a convenient time.
Yeah,
But
I have a
it is what
couple
it
of
is.
my customers at my real job. We won't talk about that, but anyway, I get a lot of Canadians coming in, and I talked to them for a few minutes, and they're explaining to me how rough it is for them to come to Vegas because they can't really buy anything.
Right.
And
Well, our dollar is a lot weaker than yours. It has been for a while now. I mean,
yeah,
I got to say, like, I don't like talking about politics too much, but the way things have been run here for the last 9 years, it's time for a change. Like
yeah,
everybody's mad at Trump over the tariffs and all that, but the truth is, we're getting carbon taxed so hard, we're losing half our income to taxes. So you could blame the guy down south, but we've been having bigger problems up here long before that. The housing crisis
oh right.
to buy a house here is so expensive. Like it's no wonder millennials are complaining; they can't afford anything.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
even here too, though, in Vegas, I mean,
oh yeah, really.
because they those fires out in California, a lot of them.
Oh, everybody's coming over now. Right.
So yeah, but we deal with it. You know
And
how
it's
they.
too bad because for a while, a lot of those LA rockers, they were all moving to Vegas, right? You had
Yeah.
those guys in Quiet Riot and guys like
Oh
that.
yeah, I mean, Stephen
Eddie Trunk.
Piercy lives here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rockers that are moving here. Sebastian Bach lives here.
Yeah.
So
Even the Canadian guys like Todd Kearns and Brent
yeah,
Fitz. Yeah.
he's here a lot. His family lives here. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, the way the music industry is here, I mean, these tribute bands are drawing in the crowds. But as a rocker, my full-time rocker myself, I want original music. You know,
Right.
I mean, and half of these tribute bands, I know these guys, and I get it. I get it. We all have to make
It's a
dollars,
paycheck. It's a
right?
paycheck.
But talking from a rock journalist standpoint, those type of bands aren't going anywhere. You know what I
Right.
mean? As far
Yeah.
as unless they get original music and work it in and you know and things
Yeah,
like
even then, it's like you don't want to be, you don't want to over label. Like you used to work back in the days when Van Halen and Aerosmith and even the Beatles, they were all cover bands at one point. But nowadays, cross branding, that sort of thing, is less favorable than it used to be. So you want to
right.
limit how many covers you're throwing in there, right?
But I'd love to see you, Steve, come out here.
I have nothing I would love more. I love Vegas. So,
You know, we got to make some room for you in those clubs somewhere.
yeah. I mean, look, this is a self-financed thing that I've got going on right now. So
Right.
typically, I pay my band every time I play, and I got to pay the gas. I pay the hotels. So in coming to the States, that means I would have to pay the visas as well, right?
Yeah.
So right now, I'm just spending all this money on the campaigning and the meta ads and all that. It runs its course a little bit, so you got to be very strategic about where you're placing your money.
Oh, of course. But we can always hope, right?
No, look, I'm never going to mark it off because it's definitely on the agenda. Like it's either the UK or the States for us right now. I feel like Canada will follow suit because we're not a leading country in terms of rock and roll. We never have been,
Right.
and that's fine. But to just think we're going to make an impact in the States by touring Canada is also delusional. So it's good for our home notoriety, if you will, but
Right.
we'd have much bigger impact. I think bands like us appeal much more to Americans. We sound like Cheap Trick a lot, so I think Americans
Yeah.
really they catch on to that.
Well, you know what, Steve? It was great talking to you. Why don't you tell the fans where they can find all your music?
Well, we're on all of them. You know, we're on 150, I think it is, platforms. Well, up from the Deezer to Tidal and Apple, but you know, we predominantly push on Spotify. I'm on all the socials. Just look up Steve Creep and the Wild Cards. You should find us on any one of them. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Lemonade, blah blah blah, Blue Sky, which nobody seems to be on yet. You know, but I
Oh,
I
okay.
post anyway. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I'm on Lemonade, but I'm not. Yeah, I haven't
Right.
seen
Yeah,
that other
I think
one.
they're trying to push that as the new thing. We got
Yeah.
our videos on YouTube as well. So I mean,
Right.
one way to help us out, if you really like what you're hearing, don't do it if you're not into it. But if you like what you hear, then follow us and subscribe to our channel and all that kind of thing. You know,
Yeah,
that goes more far than you think it does.
it
So
does. Even
yeah,
with me, like and subscribe because that only helps all of us out.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you take care, Steve, and we'll regroup again and touch base later in the year. Always great talking to you.
Well, if your interview gets scrapped, you know, it just gives us a reason to talk again.
Right. And it's always fun, always a great
Right.
time. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Steve Creep and the Wild Cards. This is a great band out of Canada. If you don't know who they are, go to YouTube, go to Spotify, go to TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. They are all over the socials. This is the Vegas Rock Goddess on the Rocks, total entertainment. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe because you never know who I will be interviewing next.